Mistakes listeners, this is Dave speaking once again on behalf of Todd. I am so glad you downloaded this next episode. We had a lot of fun, basically critiquing, reviewing, investigating Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This episode, which is episode 9, was recorded on July 20th, 2015. Quick reminder here, little maintenance. We do have a Twitter account. You can follow us on Twitter at Parent Mistakes, not Parenting Mistakes. That's the name of the podcast. But on Twitter, it's Parent Mistakes. And sit back and enjoy the show. Hey, we're back.
We are back. So I had sort of a parenting reminder this weekend.
What's that?
Well, just a reminder about parenting, something that occurred to me.
Wow.
I don't know if I want to call it an epiphany.
Okay. Okay.
So one of the challenges that we have in evaluating a lot of these shows and movies is that they aren't targeted to us. This is still kids programming,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we don't necessarily find it funny, but our child may find it funny because that's their level of humor. So you and I have talked about we have some slight differences in our state of parenting right now just because of the age of our children.
Yep.
My kids are older. I got a couple kids in high school. And I went to a birthday party on Saturday night for my niece, who is 1. And as you can imagine, these days I'm hanging around with a lot of people who have older children.
Yep.
Because that's sort of what you do as a parent a lot of times. You sort of go through a progression. So we went to this party, and this house is filled with little kids, which is fine.
To be expected, I'm assuming.
To be expected, yes. It's all my brother and sister-in-law's friends.
Right.
And all their kids, and they're all about the same age. Whole slew of kids 6 and under.
Yep.
And it was fine, and it was fun, and they had a bounce house, and it was raining outside, and it was just kind of chaos, and there was cupcakes everywhere, and it was cool, all that cool stuff. But I was reminded really quickly how out of practice I am with little kids. Like, it was an unfamiliar environment to me. And I said to myself, wait a minute. I've done this before. I raised kids. I have to have been to a ton of these types of parties.
Yep.
But it was a foreign thing. So I was thinking about that in the context of the shows that we watch, that's sort of our challenge, is that we're approaching this from a parental standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But relatability to the content is always going to be a little difficult. So I guess you could call that a caveat.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because it was a comment that we got. I sat down with a friend of mine and we actually listened to the Mako Mermaids episode. And one of the things that he said that he really liked was he said, number one, I'll try to be careful with what he said, but he said he liked listening to you in particular.
Oh, warm fuzzy.
And the reason that is that you're in a place or a stage in life that he's not in yet, right? So again, you're right. I totally hang out with a bunch of people that have 3-year-olds and 6-year-olds, right? Because that's just the phase of life I'm in. But as my friend was listening to the show, he was very intrigued about the things that you had to say because you have insight into the future and you have that, dare I say it, elder parent perspective.
Yes.
So I like that you're bringing up this idea of different perspectives and kind of like where we're coming in on this. I've made that term over-the-shoulder viewing many times because some of these shows I've actually watched over the shoulder of my child. And I'm assuming that some of the shows you've watched over the shoulder as well.
Yes.
But it's just kind of the stage of life that you're in, for sure.
But going to this party was a good reminder to me that when you move to sort of, and it's not like the phases are like defined, like I'm in a particular phase and you're a particular phase. Your phase is your phase. Your kids are your kids. You deal with different issues. It was a reminder to me that I think for a lot of parents, they forget a lot of the elements of the prior stage.
Yes.
Just because parenting is, I always say to people, parenting isn't easier or harder when your kids get older. It's just different. It's like any other stage of life. Some things are easier. Some things are harder. So you can't just sit there and go, oh, well, once your kids get to this stage, it's, cake. Or if you get to this stage, oh, this is where the terror really begins.
That statement doesn't make any sense, Todd.
Well, sure it does.
I can say about anything.
I'll give you an example.
Life is hard in some ways, but then life changes and it's easier. But it's still hard.
Right. I'll give you an example.
Okay, go ahead.
When your kids are older, you have to deal with less of what I call the maintenance aspects of parenting.
Yes.
So diapers, cutting up their food, making sure they're not running into the street.
Jam hands.
Yeah, making sure that your children are surviving. You have to deal with,
I was dealing with some sticky hands tonight.
You have to deal with less of that, which is great. I know some people really love that stage. I'm like, I really love that when I walk into this house, I can say to my kids, so, go have fun.
Yeah.
And I don't have to follow them around. The flip side of that is, as your kids get older, the arguments get more complex, the issues get more complex. You have to make probably some harder choices in terms of their lifestyle and what they want to do and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's why. Does that make more sense?
It does. I'll give you a gimme.
Okay.
So right now, Kayleen likes to sneak food, but she doesn't know what to do with the wrappers. So what she does is she puts them in secret locations that are not secret at all. But in her world, it's like, I'll never see it.
Right.
But
parents
clearly,
will never find this.
Today I found yogurt in my closet, right? The yogurt had
Nice.
been there for like a couple of days, but I'm like,
Nice.
secret yogurt, right? She actually will put stuff underneath the couch. But I'm assuming that as they approach 16, those secrets become a little more complicated.
They do.
Right.
And I wish I could tell you that they completely go away. And
Right. Yeah, because that's when I was asking you some parenting advice last week. You're like, well, it's just on a more of an epic level, Dave. It just gets bigger and crazier.
yes, in some ways it does.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 2, Episode 4, Face My Enemy.
This latest season, by the way.
Yes, latest season. We're
finally doing something very current. Very current.
Well, and this was an interesting one to pick because some people listening... I should give the caveat. So some people listening right now might kind of go, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I thought you people were doing, like, kids shows.
Yeah, where's Phineas and Ferb? Whatever.
Yeah, where's Phineas and Ferb and Jesse and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So I picked this one because, Dave and I had said, let's try to stay current and try to go with what people are watching these days. So I Googled, Kids Awards or top shows or whatever, and I came up with the Kids Choice Awards, which I think is on Nickelodeon. Is that possible?
I think that's true. Yep.
Okay. So it's basically sort of the Kids Academy Awards / Emmys sort of thrown together, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was listed as one of the nominees of Best Family Show.
Right.
And I sort of went, I guess I don't think of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as a family show. But we'll discuss that. So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., most people know of it. It is a spin-off TV show of the Marvel Universe. The Avengers characters, most people know Iron Man.
Are you a religious viewer, or was this your first time viewing it?
I am not a religious viewer of this show.
Okay.
I have seen parts of it. It's on my list of shows that I intend to watch at some point.
Mm-hmm.
You and I know that, and we could make comments about society and how things have changed. But Netflix has changed how we view things.
Yep.
Because we have access to things. I have a number of TV shows on my queue that I've never watched, but people said, oh, this is a good show. And so I'll throw it on the queue, and I'll say to myself, all right, at some point I'll get to the 5 seasons of that.
Correct.
I don't know when, but I will.
Mm-hmm.
So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is probably on my list. So this is an Avengers spin-off show. Most people know Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, that sort of thing.
It is serialized.
Yes.
So it's not. It's again not that Knight Rider / A-Team dilemma of the week resolved in 1 hour.
Correct. So this is currently in its 2nd season. 3rd season starts in September.
Mm-hmm.
the basic premise of the show is that it is a team of agents who are, for the most part, mortal people. There are a few, from what I can tell, and you probably know more, there are a few supernatural elements thrown in. They go chasing bad guys in a larger sort of umbrella scheme of fighting Hydra, other, that sort of thing. That there's crossover elements with the movie.
Yeah, and to be fair, those elements did come up in this very particular episode.
They did.
So if we just kind of stick it to this episode, I think that's a great synopsis of what's happening.
The show is rated TV PG, and I was reading, or TV 14, depending on the episode.
Yep.
Which is kind of an interesting thing. So depending on how you parent, what your standards are, you can take things sort of episode by episode, movie by movie. I know that we as parents, in general, are probably a little more conservative. So, for example, with movies, we're not necessarily going to say, okay, you're 13, you can watch every PG-13 movie. We're still going to be a little more selective.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with a serialized show like this, I suppose you could try to be selective, but really you sort of have to default to the most extreme rating, because you have to assume that if you're letting your child watch one episode, they're going to want to watch the whole series.
Yeah. So this is your core, one of your core. This sits on ABC, right? So
Yes.
it's on channel 4 for us, which is those like 1 to 13 channels have always been a little bit more tamer. Have a lot more restrictions. Usually this is broadcast TV. This is not cable TV. So
Right. Major
generally,
networks.
yeah. So how they deal with this on cable as you go further up the dial. If you're watching a show, let's say like Mad Men, and there's like really, because its rating will change too from episode to episode.
Yes.
And what it does is it will basically give you a warning at the beginning of the show saying, by the way, the imagery in this episode may be not suitable for a younger audience, right? They'll give you that warning. That's actually some of the purpose behind some of these ratings too. If I see rating, Y14, I know that I'm probably going to get X, Y, and Z. It's a good thing to actually understand the rating system and what they're throwing at you, because they try, at least, to give you a heads up as to what's coming.
They do.
But like I said, on the upper channels, like where it actually does get pretty extreme, I've actually literally seen it at the commercial break right before the real extreme thing. They'll give you another warning saying, by the way, the big horrible thing is coming up, so get ready.
And understanding the ratings only is going to get you so far. You're still
Sure.
talking about a level of subjectivity where, whether it's a TV show or a movie.
Well, we totally got into that in our last episode, right? We're basically saying, hey, rated G doesn't actually mean G,
Correct.
depending on who's watching this.
Correct. And the standards have changed over the years as sort of societal standards have changed and people's sort of moral compass has shifted a little bit. So the stuff that today might be rated PG-13 versus what was rated PG-13 20 years ago in the movie theater might be fairly different.
Yep.
So, what do you like about the show?
So, again, I'll have to back up and say that I actually am an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. I do like this show in general. I don't adore the show. So, if you want to know anything about me, I am a huge Star Trek fan. Star Trek was a show that I adored, and they could do no wrong. Like, if we're talking about somebody taking Spock's brain out for an episode that just totally not plausible, I would have defended that to the bitter end, saying you can remove somebody's brain. It's possible. I've seen it. I actually have a couple of brains on my shelf back here. I've put them back in my sister. Totally, you can do that.
Right.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a little bit weird in that this episode in particular is kind of clunky. It's kind of a clunky episode. It feels like they had to get some business done. So, again, it's a highly serialized show, and they need to get from point A to point B. So, in my experience for the show, getting from point A to point B, was it fun? Yeah, I had a good time, right? It was fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. So, you've got Phil Coulson, who's your main core actor in there. You adore him. The minute he walked on Iron Man, I remember my wife and I walking out of Iron Man saying, I want more Phil Coulson, right? Like, he is just, He's a stabilizing force. He's fun to watch. And no matter what he does, every word he says is almost golden, right? I would say he was a little bit over sarcastic again. That's sarcasm again.
Yes.
Throughout the episode. Agent May is not as fun, but obviously there's this fish out of water element in the episode. So we didn't get to the synopsis of the episode, did we?
Not really.
Real quickly, they're going after a MacGuffin. So there is a piece of art that they're trying to seek out. A bunch of rich people have this particular item. And so Hydra and the agents are all going after this particular item. They're trying to get their hands on it. So to be able to do this, they have to infiltrate this very rich avant-garde party undercover, classically, and they have to act not like themselves. So Agent May, who's always very stoic, usually very stoic, is light and bubbly, and, well, pretty much Phil Coulson is Phil Coulson.
Right.
As they try to chase this or get this MacGuffin, or the art piece in this case. So, obviously, the highlight of the episode is they actually meet up with some of the Hydra agents, and they have basically an interchange. And there's a reveal. One of the agents is revealed. There's basically, I want the item. No, you can't have the item. Which all leads up to a gigantic, massive brawl between Agent 33 and Agent May, which is a pretty awesome fight sequence. As far as fight sequence go on normal TV, this is pretty dang good. It's fun to watch, very entertaining. I liked it, right?
Okay, so is this hard for you as a fan to watch it again objectively through the lens as a parent? Because that's the hard part with some of these franchises. And we've dealt with this like with Transformers that you and I watched as a kid, Clone Wars, because we both grew up Star Wars fans. Can you separate your enjoyment of it at your phase of life from you as a parent looking at it and saying, all right, what if my kid's watching this? And obviously not now with your kids, but say in a few years. You know what I'm asking? I mean...
Oh, I totally know what you're saying. That's a big, broad question. In that, right now, I am influencing my children to watch the things that I think are appropriate. Okay? So, will say my daughters actually, at the end of the day, watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with me. At the appropriate age, I'm guessing yes. Right? Okay. When they get to be 13 and 14, I can see them sitting next to me on the couch watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with me. I totally can.
Okay.
Now, what I found... Okay, so I did try to pull back and say, what are some of the common themes that we've seen already with a lot of these family shows? Well, this is a Joss Whedon show, and the sarcasm is always going to be high. So yes. There it is again. It's all creeped in again. There's a lot of sarcasm, I wouldn't say sarcasm, more I'd say snarkiness. Everybody's a little bit snarky with each other. Yes. Everybody's trying to get that little quick quib in.
Yes, all the actors are witty.
Right. And I go, it's evolved out a lot of the TV that we already have, and we all enjoy, I guess we all enjoyed that quick quib. And I see myself chuckling at it, although I would say some of the weaker elements of the show were the writing. Like, when they're all like, I felt like it was so hammy when they're like, who's laughing? That can't possibly be Agent May. Why, right. It is Agent May. She's laughing. Ha ha ha. I find that so funny. And it just fell like a lead brick. It was terrible. Right?
Well, they're trying to force either comedy or intrigue sometimes, right. Where it doesn't happen organically. Which
that show actually doesn't need a whole lot of already. They already have a lot of strong elements that they can already play off of.
Yes.
But what I'll say is this: one of the things that they have done, and again, this is your lack of perspective, is that Fitz, who's actually had a very traumatic event, is dealing with some pretty deep psychological issues, and they, to be honest with you, because they actually haven't been totally focused in on that storyline, it's a subplot, it's actually turned out really well. I like the things that are happening with Fitz. I like his inner monologue with Simmons. That's my favorite part of that episode, to be honest with you, is his struggle to try to come to light and be courageous and be a hero in amongst his mind has just been scrambled. And I know you haven't seen that, but you understand that his mind has been scrambled to the point where he's talking to himself, he sees he's suffering from depression, he feels that he's ineffectual, right? I can't do these certain things. But at the end of the day, he actually is overcoming some of the odds and saving the bus, or the plane in this case, right?
Right. Okay. And again, I'm looking at it strictly sort of from an outsider's perspective of a parental standpoint, saying, okay, is a teenage kid going to process these characters as is? Are they going to dig into that? This guy has sort of an imaginary friend. The head of this agent group, keeps telling his second in command that if, he sort of loses it, that he wants her to shoot him.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of themes there that aren't just sort of the fun, hey, I've got some gadgets, hey, we're going to do a cool fight scene here, and good is going to triumph at the end.
Okay, so let's really get down to brass tacks. You ready? So let's say my daughters are 13 or 14 and watching that show because they're interested in the Marvel Universe. I'll be honest with you, that entire episode was to get Agent May and Agent 33 to be in a gigantic fight.
Yes,
right?
In their underwear.
Like, I want to see them in a gigantic fight, and that's the thing that people are going to be talking about the next day. Can you believe that fight that we saw?
Right.
So, and they will do whatever it takes to get there, because one of the biggest issues I had with the episode was the fact that he had a gun that could have shot Agent 33, but he didn't use it. And 2 minutes later, he shoots the other Hydra agent with it. He's already suspected that Agent 33 is disguised as May, and he chooses not to shoot her for no reason at all. None. Other than we need to make sure that May and Agent 33 have a fight. In fact, May comes out of the room, and Coulson looks at her and says, "Can you take this? Can you handle it? Why not just pull out your gun and shoot Agent 33? Really? Right? But no, we've got to have that fight. That fight is the core of that particular episode.
Yes.
It will break every logic that we have, because it's a lot easier for us to write, hey, he just pulled out his icer and he shot the other Hydra agent. Why didn't he go back and help Agent May? I guess he's going after the art piece. That's right. That's why he can't go.
Yes. Well, and again, subtle things, and this is us being grumpy old men. Agent May, of course, has to be fighting in her underwear.
Yep.
Has to be fighting in her underwear. She can't be fighting in coveralls or overalls or anything like that.
Right.
Because the other agent stole her dress so that she could copy her, and so now she's in her underwear, and now they're having a girl fight, one of which is in her underwear.
When was the last time you saw a woman in overalls? Okay. What show were you watching where you're like, oh my lord, the overall lady?
Let's see, did Daisy Duke ever wear overalls? No.
No.
Uncle Jesse did all the time. I remember that.
I'm like, what? Do you even know any women right now that wear overalls?
Oh, yeah, overalls are in style.
Are they? They're back again?
Yeah,
I
back
think my
again.
wife was saying that.
Young,
all right.
young people want to go get overalls.
Right. So we got
Come on, Dave. And with apologies to our listeners, we have a very rough script, but we're freestyling. If this was a rap, if this was a rap thing, we'd be freestyling. So we are.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just.
So yes. So getting back to our main point here is.
Okay. Parenting of this.
The parenting point here is that we're trying to get these viewers to the fight scene. That fight scene is everything, and that's what they're going to walk away with. Women in underwear. In fact, I remember the next day reading the reviews for this episode, and that's what they talked about.
Yes.
One of the highlights of this season was Agent May fighting Agent 33. Right?
Yes.
They actually don't say Agent 33 in that episode, but the reason I know Agent 33 is because I talked about it a million times. Right. May and Agent 33 fought in their underwear, and it was awesome. Right?
But this show is a gateway drug, in some ways, to the Marvel Universe. When you package it as TV PG, then you've got it right below where the movies are. and the assumption is that, the parents are going to go, all right, well, it's on the network. It's in a time slot, and I don't even know when the time slot is that it's usually on. Do you know?
Oh, yeah, I do. It's 8 p.m.
Okay,
8 p.m.
so
on Wednesdays, I believe.
So 8 p.m. This
Right.
this is
Or
sort of like
Tuesday.
the borderline, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
8 o'clock is still. We don't want to say it's the kids' hour,
No.
but it's not 10 p.m.
Right.
So you could say, all right, conceivably kids that are, say, older elementary are still up. Maybe the parents let them watch this. That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, you just it's about awareness. It is a fun show. It's got the cool gadgets. It's got the intrigue.
It's got a cool character from the movie universe, right?
It's got good music. It's got a lot of sort of plot twists, that sort of thing.
But here's the question, right? And this is the question. Is it a family show?
I'm going to say absolutely not.
No, it's not a family show.
Not a family show.
But hey, it sits on ABC, and I can guarantee you there's going to be runs of this show on ABC Family within time.
Probably.
Right? It'll be during the day, ABC Family, after that old episode of Heart to Heart or whatever, you get Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Really? Yeah, you're getting on me for picking overalls and put Heart to Heart?
Well, when they come together, it's murder,
There must be anybody listening to the show under 40 because they don't know what Heart is either. You couldn't go Starsky and Hutch. You couldn't go like.
Well, I think the whole Marvel universe. Oh, I love Starsky and Hutch, but I think the whole Marvel universe could be quote unquote family fun. Family. That's what they build themselves as. Is
right.
But I always end up feeling like, but their demographic is the 18-35-year-old boy.
Yes, and they could also go darker very quickly if they wanted.
Sure. I binge watched Daredevil, and Daredevil was horrendously violent.
Yes.
And it's quote unquote in the same universe.
Yes. Yes.
I think there's a lot. The mistake here is thinking that this is family TV. It is not family TV.
Unless your kids are 21 and older. Maybe
well, see, high
school.
All right, so this is where I struggle. Would you not sit down with Jonathan and sit there if he wanted to watch that show with you at the age of 15, you're sitting on him within the couch, and you're popcorn viewing it.
Right.
Wouldn't you do that?
Yes, and he has watched some of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, and I will as a parent say, yeah, it's okay. It's borderline.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting there going, sure, this is no problem.
Yes. Correct.
So, and that's one of the challenges, I think, of media content when you are a parent, is whether or not you allow your kids to watch things that, from your standpoint, aren't great.
Yeah, I think another interesting aspect of our show is that we never give anything a complete thumbs up or a complete thumbs down. And there's two different ways to take, say, the May fight. I could look at Kayleen, at a 14-year-old Kayleen, and say, you could learn karate. You could actually beat up agents if you wanted to. If you're a strong woman, you could clock people in your underwear if you want, right? That's the positive spin. But the truth is, I don't want Kayleen doing that. I don't want her getting into fights. I don't want her to be a secret agent that goes out and chops people's heads. Right?
You don't want that to be the role model.
Right. Exactly. But I have seen media play it up like that. Oh, they're strong female characters. They're just amazing. Strong and they can do all the things that men can do.
Right.
Which is I can beat people up in the face.
Well, and particularly in this type of show,
right.
This particular genre, you have to be a strong, violent character.
Correct.
Because that's what all the characters are.
Mm.
Well, I mean, they're all agents. They're all agents working for a super secret organization.
So let me reel it in. That's why I like Fitz's storyline. He is sensitive. He is vulnerable. He is still a hero, but he's just trying to find his own, and he actually saves the day.
Okay, and that's fair, and you can counterbalance with that. But if you're going to have a cross-section of men and women, some of the men and some of the women are going to have to be the tough, beat-em-up type people.
Yep.
You can have a couple of them that are sort of the nerdy, fix the computers and build the gadgets back at headquarters type people.
Right.
But you can't have all the men out fighting and all the women doing IT support.
Right.
not in this day and age.
Not in this day and age.
And not in that type of a show.
Which, I actually had this kind of a side tangent conversation I had with my wife, but I was saying one of the things I like about today's TV is that in today's TV, women are given just the same opportunities that men are. I do kind of like that. But I'm conflicted in that, but it also means that, so it's always that constant debate of, are they just out there just beating people up because that's what men do, or are they beating people up because she's motivated to beat people up?
Right.
It's a very convoluted period that we live in, because I'd say the roles are not really defined.
Correct.
And media is going to hype it up that you can pretty much be anything you want, but I'm not. Yeah, I mean, again, another debate we could get into for hours. Not even a debate, but just a discussion. Yes. But yes. So the positive is that, yes, you have a lot of strong female characters that can do pretty much anything a man can do, and I don't mind that. But the negative is, what are they doing? What are they all doing? Right? Well, they're secret agents, so they're bound to get into some fights. Right? It's expected. And what's wrong with some action adventure? Right?
Just not in a family show.
It is not a family show. Correct. I 100% agree. I also understand that in a water landing, when a plane goes down, all the doors shut. What? When I was watching that, oh no, we're in water landing mode. If you're in water landing mode, doesn't typically like the rafts and like that like fun blow up slide comes out the side of the plane and everybody goes down it, right? Like, right, and they all float away. That's a water landing, right?
I think yes, but Dave, I think our high school English teacher, Mr. Olstein, would be reminding you right now that when you watch this type of show, you have to suspend your disbelief.
Well, maybe it has it would have been better if they said submarine mode, right? Like, oh no, the plane's in submarine mode. Oh, that makes sense. Here's what's even more crazy. Is it not already in water landing mode when it's in the air?
All right, let it go.
No, I'm serious. Like aren't all the windows in those supposed to be closed? Right?
Folks, remember, we learned this in mass communications in high school. If you're going to enjoy these types of shows and movies, you have to take the physics card out of your wallet and just leave it at the door of the theater or your living room. Otherwise, you're going to be doing this.
There's so many better ways to say that. They could have said we're in air mode. Oh no, the plane thinks we're in air mode, so everything's locked down. Oh, that makes sense. The thing is when they said they were in water landing mode, I actually went, oh, that makes sense. Because you wanted me. Well, no, I'm not. 18 to 35.
Yes,
crap.
High school kids. All right.
I would not recommend this for family viewing. I'm not going to sit down with my wife and 2 daughters and sit down and go, hey, we're going to watch The Jungle Book tonight. Oh, here's a better option. It's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
That's not going to happen.
Yes. Watch Sound of Music or...
That would be the mistake, quote unquote.
Yes. So, all right. Hey, I think we're good.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Okay. Hopefully my car has water. See, in a car it would make sense to have.
Oh, okay.
No, seriously, in a car, right? Like, oh no, we fell in the river. Now I'm in car mode. Oh,
I'm going to remind the viewers to follow us on Twitter, Parent Mistakes. The podcast is called Parenting Mistakes, but our Twitter is Parent Mistakes.
Parenting what? Parenting Mistake or Parenting Mistake?
Parent Mistakes is our Twitter account, but Parenting Mistakes is what we're doing. And
/ water landing mode.
Yes, we're going to sign off, and I'm going to comfort Dave on the physics of action shows. So thank you.
Bye.